What you know about waking up from a whole lifetime of living savage? Spirit on you till you go to the highways and byways and bend them to their marriage. Turn back or otherwise perish. You ain't always gotta bust a glass, but this here ain't for everybody. If you ain't with it, then get up the block. Crack your fucking head, leave a husky knot. We ain't all about love, nigga. You looking at ex-gang members, ex-convicts, and ex-drug dealers. Everything is a balance with us. When the teacher speaking, it's the silence with us. Cause we real soldiers for Yahawahshi. Other false gods don't want no challenge with us.
Alright, first and foremost, I give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High God, Yahawah, in the name of Yahawahshi, right? So the title at hand, when you look at the title, you may think, alright, why am I focused on this? Or what is the point of even giving this any energy? But it's very important and essential to teaching those of our people that are lost, right? So we're going to get into 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 4 to 5. It says, for the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, right? But mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds, right? So the weapons in the warfare that we're waging is not so much a physical war anymore. It's more mental, right? Economic, spiritual. Pulling down the brainwashing and the chains off of our people's minds. That's the war that we're facing right now. But does that mean we can't have carnal weapons like swords or guns or physical means of protection? No. All right, but that's a whole nother lesson in itself. We're going to continue verse 5. Casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalteth itself against the knowledge of God, bringing to captivity every thought to the obedience of Hamashiach. Right, so we cast down these imaginations, everything from Christianity, Islam, corrupt forms of spirituality and such on. All these imaginations and these made up things that are cited from the sources and our history and heritage. We cast these imaginations down. Every high thing that has been taught to us by the other nations that exalted itself against the knowledge of the Most High, right? From the white man teaching us that there's more than two genders, to nonsense and vain philosophies and traditions, from Christmas to all these different vain traditions and philosophies and imaginations. It goes against the Most High Yahawah, right? Which is the Most High God's name. It says bringing into captivity every thought. So all these thoughts are going to be brought into captivity in the obedience of Hamashiach by following what Christ says, right? But we're going to start the lesson right off the bat. We're going to jump right into the hadith, because this lesson at hand is dealing with the fact that Islam, Muhammad, and the Quran and hadiths promote pedophilia, right? And if you have a problem with it, I can pull up the sources to prove so, right? So we're going to jump into the hadiths, and then we're going to pull up some imagery shortly after. And this is a custom that they did not learn from us. This is a custom that was of their own, of Ishmael, or what you call, the so-called Middle East now. This is a custom they kind of practice. The Hebrews, or the Israelites, are, who they call so-called Africans in the Western Hemisphere, and our indigenous brothers over here, which are Israel, Northern and Southern Kingdom. We did not do such practices. And I'll farther expound after I touch on this. So this is Sa'id al-Bukhari, 5133. And Sa'id al-Bukhari was a highly esteemed scholar in hadith and Islamic studies, right? Which majority, if not majority, 90-something% of Muslims follow this hadith that are studied. Right, we're going to start from the top. And this is narrated, the Arabic is at the bottom, the English is at the top. And it's narrated by Aisha herself. It says the Prophet Muhammad, right? That Arabic right there is Muhammad. The Prophet Muhammad married her when she was 6 years old. And he consummated his marriage when she was 9 years old. And then she remained with him for 9 years till his death. So the Aisha, which was a child, she was 6 years old. And Muhammad basically married her with legal documentation from her father, which he deceived her father. And he had legal marriage documentation. And he legally married her at 6, but he consummated the marriage when she was 9. consummated, when you look it up, it means he had sex with her. He made it official. And she remained with him 9 more years. So scholarly sources will say when she was about 18 is when he died. He was like 50, 60 something. And we understand that, when you read this, it's very self-explanatory. Lots of Muslims that I've questioned, with so-called black people and Hispanic people that are Islam, our people don't really know Islam, truly. But I've asked people that practice it from the East that, lived or were born in that culture and custom. And there's various excuses that will be made. One is that was back then. And that was a different time. Right? Which causes other problems and issues. 2, people age faster back then, which there's no scientific proof that people actually age faster back then. Actually, there's scientific proof that shows the opposite of that. Women got their periods much later. Today, little girls get periods due to the with the stuff in the food. There's various things that implement and speed up the process of what we call puberty. The hormones in the food, estrogen and testosterone, all these different things, which most foods in the Western hemisphere or in the Western world, dealing with the Western countries that distribute most of that, there's a lot of estrogen in the food to speed up the process, money, economic gain. And, you see girls start puberty nowadays as early as 8 years old. Right? 8, sometimes 7, 9, 10. But back then in the ancient world, it would be a little bit farther up. It'd be around like somewhere 14 to 16. Around that area, right? But even with that being said, as they'll say, puberty started beforehand. I always ask them, the ones that have children, would you let your daughter marry Prophet Muhammad? And they will tell me no. Right? And okay, if you don't want to go with this evidence and say, all right, she was slightly older, let's go to another source, another trusted hadith. Same one, same person. Sahih al-Bukhari, 61 and 30. So this, again, is narrated by Aisha. And this goes even more in depth and explains with imagery, and she was around other little girls. Because some of them will say she was confused about her age. They'll say nonsense. But we can see this signifies her age. Narrated Aisha, it says, I used to play with dolls in the presence of the Prophet, and my girlfriends also used to play with me. When Allah's messenger, Muhammad, used to enter my dwelling place, they used to hide themselves. But the Prophet would call them to join and play with me. The playing with the dolls and similar images is forbidden, but it was allowed for Aisha at that time, as she was a little girl and not yet reached the age of puberty. Right? And there's a source, Fa'il al-Barar, page 143, volume 13. It goes more in depth. But again, you see, Muhammad married Aisha legally at the age of 6, which girls don't start puberty at that age. And the Islamic culture and the Quran and the Hadith, they say that a woman is a woman. They say a girl becomes a woman when she hits her flower, her period. That's what they say. Hebrew customs, we do not teach that. We teach something completely different. So where did they get these customs from? They got it from their paganistic way of living. Right? Combined, they took the Torah and tried to recite and copy our holy Torah and Tanakh. That's what the Quran is. It's a ripoff of the Tanakh. Right? But it says Aisha was playing with dolls in the presence of the Prophet. And she had girlfriends. It was signifying that her friends were girls. They were children. And Allah's messenger, we understand that's Muhammad. They believe him to be the messenger of Allah or God. And he would enter the dwelling places, and all the little girls, they would hide themselves. They would be afraid and terrified. An old man with gray hair, a gray big beard, he's like 57, he comes in the room, and these little girls were terrified. Right? And Muhammad would see that and call them to come play with Aisha. Come play with her. And the playing with the dolls in Islam and similar images is forbidden for women. Women are no longer allowed to play with dolls or toys. In Islamic culture, they must learn how to be a wife, take care of the house, and take care of things. But at that time, right, as it says, Aisha, it was okay for her because she was a little girl. She didn't reach puberty yet. So this is around the time that Muhammad was seeing her and visiting her, and to legally marry her from the father, right? And as you see, I mean, it's pretty sick. Muhammad laid with her at 9. He consummated at 9, as it says. And we understand that this is not just something, because I like to judge the religion or the belief system off of the book or the holy text in the description of what you're supposed to do. You don't judge the belief system. I mean, you can judge it off of the followers, but you don't do that. You judge it off the premise of what it is. Because if that's the case, Christians in this world, the white man that practices Christianity, they say they follow the Bible, but they don't. Because the Bible says not to eat pork, not to sleep with your own sister or your own mom. But we know white people sleep with their own mom. They sleep with their own sister. They commit incest. Right? They eat pork. They eat bacon. They do all these things. So they don't follow the Bible. So we judge it based off of what the book says, or the so-called holy text that these people follow, right, in Islam. But most people, that's not enough. So they want, proof of it being practiced today, because they'll say that was back then. And this is a common practice today. This is an individual right here. She's a little girl. She's 11 years old. And she's married to this man. He's 40 years old. Right? It said that she hoped to become a teacher, but was forced to quit her classes upon engagement. And this reached the New York Times magazine. So this little girl had dreams of becoming a teacher. She's 11. She was in school. Right? But this 40-year-old man married her in legal marriage. More than likely from her parents for money. And she had to quit and give up her entire dream of becoming a teacher. Right? That's sick and that's disgusting. And then it farther goes into it. But and who did this man learn this from? This Ishmaelite. He learned it from his prophet Muhammad. And this is something that they practice. They may say that, the Bible, Abraham and Joseph with Mary did that. No, they did not. Because if we go into our sources, if we go into the Bible and we go into the Hebrewic sources, and we dealt with the Hebrew and the Hebrew customs, we didn't do these practices. We didn't do sick practices like this. That's something that they implemented and they did on their own, which tells you something about Islam, the Quran and Muhammad. The religion, the book, the prophet, the highly esteemed top tier prophet of the religion promotes pedophilia. And the followers of the religion turn a blind eye. And our people that are compassionate to the followers of the religion, or these other nations that follow it, turn a blind eye due to feelings. But facts don't care about your feelings, because we pulled sources, and as many more sources I can go to in the Quran and the Hadiths. But now I want to focus on the Hebrew customs of it, and not spend too much time dealing with this sick doctrine, right? And we can pull up more imagery and articles that are proven and real of child marriages, not only done in the East, done in other places. This also takes place in the West Indies. Personal experience. I knew a sister, this Trinidadian, tribe of Benjamin. Her parents married off to a 40-something-year-old man, and she was 16. And she's 18, going on 19 now, and she's stuck in this situation. So these things don't take place in just the East. Our people that are fooled with the philosophy of these people, they follow these religions and these belief systems, also do these sick practices because we were enslaved under it. We were enslaved under Islam, Christianity, all these other nonsense belief systems and religions, right? But I want to dive into the Hebrew customs and show the integrity of the Hebrew, because the Hebrews and the Israelites did not practice these customs that the Arabs, the Ishmaelites, say where they got it from, right? But we're going to dive into that real quick. Let me pull back up the Bible. This is just to discredit Islam by going back to the source that they say they follow, because how the Quran says they must follow and go back to the Tanakh, which is the Bible, and the Injil, which is the New Testament, the Gospels. So if they have to go back to these sources denote and decredit what they believe. It tears it apart, and it also shows that they have made up their own sick beliefs. And it would make you question, what is the point of even being in there, right? But we're about to jump into this. So this is Numbers 29 and 32. 29, we're going to go all the way, let me see. We're going to go down to 32. I want to show an example of, in the Hebrew customs, of individuals be known or called adults or grown, right? So we're going to start from the top. 29. This is Numbers 14 and 29. Your carcasses shall fall in the wilderness, in this wilderness. All that were numbered of you, according to your whole number, from 20 years old and upward, which have murmured against me. So pay attention. Pause the video. Pay attention. And write it down if you have to. 20 years old, right? So 20, that's the number. Hit that right there, 20 and upward. So everybody that's 20 years and up. All right, let's carry on. Verse 30. Doubtless ye shall not come into the land concerning which I swore to you, swore to make you dwell therein, save Caleb the son of Jephunneh and Joshua the son of Nun. But your little ones, right? You see that? But your little ones, which ye said should be a prey, them will I bring in, and they shall know the land which ye have despised. But as for you, your carcasses, they shall fall in this wilderness. So everybody that's under the age of 20 is considered a little ones or a child. You know, I'm sure other translations will say something else in that sense, but everybody under the age of 20 is considered a little one, a child. That's an instance of age that we see in the Bible. We're gonna go to a few more accounts, because maybe you don't believe me. Maybe you need more. Maybe you need more proof that this is not a custom that the Hebrews practice. Or another example where you see 20 being mentioned. Exodus 30 and 14. Everyone that passeth among them that are numbered from 20 years old and above shall give an offering unto the Lord. Right? So when you look at it, like 20 is being mentioned is like I would say it's like a factor of when, that's when somebody, a male or female, reaches adulthood. And he brought customs through secular sources and history, is that the Hebrews, which, Abraham, Isaac, and then Jacob, you have the Israelites, which come from Jacob, which his name was changed to Israel. The practices that they kept is you become a woman after puberty, and when you're a man, you become a man or a woman when puberty is finished. Which, if puberty hits a little bit later, like 14 to 16 for women, and it's slightly later for men, you'll be done puberty around 18 to 20. Just like nowadays, right? You get your last growth spurt around like 18, 19. Your hormones calm down a little bit. Your acne is not as bad. Like, your acne calms down. You may not even have it anymore. Your hormones calm down, right? And we see a lot of evidence of these things that, happens throughout history. And let me see. I want to dive into Luke. I just want to touch on this real quick, because you had instances where they'll say that Mary. Okay, they'll go to Christ or Yahawahshi's mother, who everybody knows as Jesus, They go to his mom and say Joseph was 30 something and married Mary. Mary was 12. That's a fucking lie, right? And Salakia, I had to express it with that that so-called word, because it's a lie what these individuals will do, and the extreme lengths they will go to promote pedophilia in their belief system, right? So let me see. Blessed art thou among women, in the past when Elizabeth heard the salvation. All right, so this is an example in Luke 42. This is where Mary was called a woman. At the time of Christ when the time Christ was in her womb, she was called a woman, and she spake out with a loud voice and said, "Blessed art thou among women, blessed is the fruit of thy womb." So it calls her a woman. Hebrew customs, we know you're a woman and a man at 20. So she was 20 years old. She had to be 20. And even if Joseph was 30 something and Mary was 20, she's still a woman. These sick individuals will say Mary was 12, right? Which is a white man. The white man will tell you Mary was 12 and Joseph was 37 because he's a damn pedophile, right? You see it in the media. You see it in the cartoons that they're having nowadays. That was not a thing. Mary was at least 20 years old, because we understand the Hebrew word for virgin, which we see and in Matthew, when it calls her a virgin, are the Hebrew customs when you look through the Bible, which I'm going to make a separate lesson on that. Stay tuned for that. But a virgin, the Hebrew word is Elma. Elma means a young woman of marriageable age, right? And a woman of marriageable age is around when she's done puberty. That'll be like around 18 to 20. So that'll be like a young woman around marriageable age, 19, 20, 18. But you become a woman around 20, which signifies it called her a woman. It didn't call her a virgin or a young woman in this instance right here. And I want to touch on, let me see. It's probably going to be the closer. It's just showing that in the Hebrew customs, we don't practice such customs. You become a woman and a man at 20. And when you're getting close to the age, you be considered, a young woman. But I'm going to go into the G&T real quick. I'm going to see if I could pull something up. G&T. It's probably going to be the last verse right here, through the Spirit. All right, so this is Matthew. No, this is Salakia. Moving too fast. This is Numbers chapter 5, verse 41 to verse 42. So we can read this in the King James. All right, so this is the verse right here in the G&T. We could really pull it from any verse, the King James, but this one is more flat out. Mark 5 and 41 to 42 says, he took her by the hand and said to her, right, which I can't pronounce this, so I'm gonna skip past the two words. It says, which means, little girl, I tell you to get up. Verse 42, she got up at once and started walking around. She was 12 years old when this happened. They were completely amazed. So this girl was called a little girl at 12 years old, and we understand Islam will say that you're a woman at 9. Some sick brothers would teach that you're a woman at 9. But the Bible is calling this 12-year-old little girl. And we understand due to sick Edomites, which is Edomites are the so-called white man, they'll teach, these scholars will teach, some of them that are not even biblical scholars at least, they're secular scholars, they'll say that Mary was 12 and Joseph was 37 or 32. But Mary and Luke, right, was known as a woman when she had Christ in her stomach. When Christ was in her womb, she was known as a woman. So she had to be 20 at least. And if she was, the minimum is 20 years old. And then in Matthew, she was known as a virgin. And what is a virgin? A young woman of marriageable age. So she would have to be 19 or 18. And she would have to be 19 when Joseph impregnated her, right? So in order for her to be 20, And Luke, she would have to be 19. And Matthew, right? Because the child takes 9 months to be born. So that's the whole thing right there. So no, the Bible and Hebrew customs does not teach that that's when a woman is a woman. How Islam and these sick Edomites will teach. But with that, I hope you were edified. I hope you took notes. Subscribe to the channel, share this video, and all praises to the Most High.